she can, she can.
Sandra Ezekwesili is a journalist and the head of strategic partnerships for Nigeria Info FM. She hosts Hard Facts, a show that airs Monday to Friday from 3 to 7 p.m., examining current topical issues with expert guests while overseeing the creation of partnerships between Nigeria Info FM and other organizations, NGOs, corporations, MSMEs, MDAs. She also hosts The Glass Ceiling on Wednesdays, a show that discusses all the invisible barriers that prevent women from rising to their full potential at home, in the workplace, in politics, and in society in general. She also tries to find and discuss practical solutions to these problems. They are both available to listen as podcasts afterwards. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Sandra Ezekwesili.
Yes, I can, yes, she can.
Thank you. I don't know how I'm supposed to follow the Honorable Commissioner, but I'll do my best. It's so good to be here. Thank you to the organizers of this event for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm thankful for all the work that they've done. I'm thankful for all the impact that they are pushing out into the world. As somebody who believes in women, believes in what women can do, what women can be, I love to see women who are pushing other women forward. So today, I want to talk to you about my journey, about my story. I want to talk to you about being number one and making number ones, using lessons from a career in radio. When I took over my show in 2018, it had less than 200,000 listeners. Hard Facts on Nigeria Info 99.3. In fact, it wasn't even called Hard Facts at the time. I came on and I called it Hard Facts. Today, that show has more than 1 million listeners in Lagos. I have the most listened to current affairs radio show in Lagos. And I'm also the head of strategic partnerships for my station. So what I want to talk to you today about is how I got to these two mountaintops and how the women coming after me can get to theirs. What can she do to make it? The first thing she can do is pay her dues. We all listened to the Honorable Commissioner talk about paying her dues. A lot of the things that she had to do was her paying her dues. I started out by cutting sound, by editing, by printing copy for presenters, by editing news copy. They wouldn't let me behind a microphone, so I learned about every other part of the radio business. And I wasn't being paid a salary at the time. This was in Enugu State, ESBS. So I'll just come to the station, hang around, learn how to cut video, learn how to write news copy, learn how to follow the reporters out to gather news, learn little bits and pieces until they allowed me behind a microphone. And then when they finally allowed me behind a microphone, they told me, this was in Bayelsa now. I'd moved to Bayelsa State now. They told me, because you're not an indigene, we cannot allow you to be a DCA. A DCA is a duty continuity announcer. So we cannot allow you to be a DCA because you're not an indigene, but you can go and work in the production department. I told myself, okay, I'm not going to let that stop me. What I want to do at the end of the day is be on air, right? It doesn't matter how I get on air. Even if it's for 5 minutes that I get on air, I'm going to maximize those 5 minutes that people would say, give her more time. And that's exactly what I did. So I got into the production department at the Bayelsa State radio station at the time, Bayelsa State Service. And I was working with my production team, and I started to put together these documentary shows, these magazine shows, and then they would air, and everybody would be asking, who is that person? Who is that person? We like what she's doing, because I was doing radio at the time, government radio for that matter, in a way nobody else was doing it. So everybody wanted to know, who is that person? Who is she? Where is she from? Can we have her on the station? And then DCA now came back and said, Sandra, do you still want to work for DCA? We can bring you back. Oh. I said, my production guy at the time, Mr. Duotimi Resia, said, no, you can't take her back. She's now in our department. So even today, it's the same thing that I do. I have the most listened to current affairs show, like I talked about, in the city. And the reason I have that is because I'm a painstaking researcher. My show runs every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. I plan the 4 to 6 p.m. segments for the entire week, 1 week in advance. I pick the topics, then I spend most of my nights and the weekend doing research. So I pick the topics, I don't cut any corners. Every second of airtime is planned. If you listen to me on air and you hear me chuckle, you hear me laugh, that was planned. I didn't go on air and say, no, I'm just going to laugh, it is funny. I go on air planning to laugh at a particular time on my show. It's the same thing for if I have guests. I'm researching everything that guest has ever said, everything they've ever written, everything they've ever done about that particular topic. And when I'm done with my show, as I'm driving home, I'm listening to the replay. Why? I want to catch all my mistakes while they are fresh. I do a post-mortem of my show every day because I'm in competition against myself. Tuesday Sandra must be better than Monday Sandra. That's my principle. The other day, a colleague came up to me and she's like, Sandra, your show is #1 on the station. You have more than 1 million listeners. Is it I used to listen to everybody and you'd be like, oh, I'm going to pepper this one. I'm going to, I'll make sure that I'm #1. I'm like, nah. The only person I listen to is myself. So if you hear me not making any errors a day after the previous show, it's because I've listened to the previous show, I've seen the places where I could have done better, and I do better the next day. That's what paying your dues look like. The next thing that she can do to make it is make connections. Networking is key to winning. You are at this event now, surrounded by so many women from different walks of life, and I'm sure that you don't even know what the person sitting beside you does for a living. You don't know their name, you don't know where they're from, you don't know what they do for a living. And you sit at this event and you go home, and you probably missed out on somebody who could open a door for you somewhere. Friendships and connections are key to winning. I'm the head of strategic partnerships for my station, and for that job, I have to bring in business. Usually you give that job to somebody who has deep roots in the city. Now, I've been in Lagos less than 3 years. I got to Lagos in 2018 from Port Harcourt. I didn't know anybody in Lagos. I'd never been to Lagos before that 2018. So how come this person that is this new to this city is given that job? And how can that person do it well? It's because I go out there and I make connections with people. I do lunch, I attend social events, I attend seminars like this one, I attend workshops, and when I do, I get to know people. And I let them get to know me. And then I keep in touch. And then I do favors for people without demanding anything in return. You see that line, eh? It's becoming rarer and rarer and rarer in Nigeria today. Everybody's out to get something. Everybody's out to, what can I get out of this? And I'm not saying wanting to get something out of this is a bad thing. But sometimes, be like Mordecai. There are hundreds of people in Lagos who would jump to my aid in a heartbeat because of the things that I've done for them. I mentioned Mordecai because he's one of my favorite stories in the Bible. He saved the king's life. And after he did it, the king forgot. The king did not reward him. And then years later, the king asked them to open the book of remembrance. And boom, they read him the story of the man who saved his life years ago. And that remembrance came at just the right time for Mordecai. So try to be Mordecai. People give the most opportunities to people that they know personally and people that they value. And sometimes it's not about the money you can give to them. So perhaps you're a student and you're like, but what can I do for this woman now or this man now? He has all the money in the world. He has all the connections in the world. You can help them run an errand. Everybody's on social media these days. You can help them run a social media account for free. Oh, you have to have a social media presence online, sir. Let me help you do it. You have to have a social media presence for your business, ma. Let me help you do it. Free of charge. You never know when it will come in handy. And you have to be able to seize opportunities. The Honorable Commissioner talked about that as well. I recorded my audition that landed me a job at Cool FM in Port Harcourt on a BlackBerry, one of the very first BlackBerries. Now, usually, to do that, you have to go into a studio to do it, right? But I was in Bielsa at the time. The job was in Port Harcourt. I was working. There was no time for me to make the trip into Port Harcourt and quickly record my audition. And so I recorded it on my phone, in my wardrobe, with my blanket as soundproof, right, to soundproof the place, recorded on my BlackBerry and sent it via email to them. Now, first of all, let me tell you something. I did not even see the job post, you know. Someone else, a colleague, saw it and was talking to me about it and was saying to me, I don't know whether I should apply. I don't know whether I should apply, because he and I were tight. So I was telling him, apply. Don't worry. No, hala, apply. Me, say, I'll apply. Let's apply together and encourage each other. Do you remember that thing I said about making connections? Right? Because if I hadn't been his friend, if I had been forming I'm better than you, I wouldn't have heard about that job posting. But he was able to go into Port Harcourt to submit an audition. I wasn't. I recorded mine. The day that I got a message from my boss in Port Harcourt, well, at the time, I didn't know he would be my boss, but he eventually became my boss. When I got a message from him, I was sitting with my boss in Bielsa, and the message came into my phone, and I screamed in the production office. And my boss was like, what is it? I was like, nothing, sir. Are you going to tell him that you just got? No, nothing. And so they said to me, come in, we like what you did with your phone, but would like to see what you sound like in an actual studio. So come inside. And I did. I did that. And I gave my very best performance. And out of more than 500 people who showed up for that thing with deep voices and beautiful accents and oh my God, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, I got the job. Like, I got the job. And I've told this story so many times about using that BlackBerry. I could have said, well, I don't have access to studio. Wait till I go do. Let me sit down. This one is not my own. It doesn't have my name. But I took initiative and I seized an opportunity. It's like Ezine was saying when she was here. You see an opportunity, seize it. Then figure out how to solve it later. But just grab and face. A woman who will make it is a woman who can plan ahead. After I had been on Cool FM for a few years, for like 6 years, right? And, no, actually maybe 4 years, and my show had become the #1 show on Cool FM Port Harcourt as well, with also over 1 million listeners. I knew that I had to start eyeing a transition from urban radio to current affairs or corporate communication. And so what I did first was get myself a master's degree. So where my station in Port Harcourt was very close to the University of Port Harcourt. And I did not have money to do a broad master's. So I said, hey, you're a stone throw from this university. Get yourself a master's degree from this university. So I was going to school and working at the same time. I would miss lectures because a lot of the lectures were in the morning and my show was a morning show. So what I did to make up for all that lost time was use YouTube a lot. A lot of the courses I couldn't attend, I was attending on YouTube. I was reading from the Indians because their curriculum was close to ours. So I kept learning and learning and learning. And then I'll get to the exam hall, and some of the questions they were asking to me were very, outdated compared to what I was reading online about this course. But I did the exams and I got my master's degree. And then I also started to immerse myself into news and current affairs. You know why I started eyeing a transition from urban radio to current affairs? Because I knew that as a woman, I had a shorter shelf life in urban radio. There is sexism in the world, and there is sexism on radio. When it comes to pop culture and music radio, men are allowed to grow old. Women are not. So I knew that if I stayed in that lane, sexism would end my career early. And that's why years ago, I started to plan my transition to current affairs. So if current affairs radio no work, at least I get masters in corporate communication. So I feel branch off either way. I was getting ready. I was planning ahead. I made myself an expert in current affairs. I spent hours of my spare time every day, not just reading the news, but researching the history behind the news. But I also kept asking myself one simple question. What's my value add? What's that thing that will make me stand out? And I realized that I had something that nobody else had. I had the knowledge base of a current affairs reporter, but the energy and delivery of a pop culture presenter. So I decided that when I came to current affairs, I would not present it like David Frost. I would present like MTV. Serious content with an irreverent delivery. And it worked. 1 million Lagosians cannot be wrong. But imagine if I had not planned ahead. Imagine if I had not done the groundwork. Imagine if I had not put in the work. I would never have been able to make that transition. So I'm going to close by saying that I recognize my privilege. I recognize that I made it because I am an exceptional woman. And when I look around this room, I see other exceptional women. I see survivors. I see women who have been through the fire, who have survived where others did not. Because they were stronger, they were smarter, they were more resilient, they were better connected. In the course of my journey, I've had so many colleagues who were men who felt that, number one, she's a woman, number two, she's too young, why is she trying to move fast? Calm down. And they did all they could to try to get me out of the way, get me fired, get me demoted, get me some time out, get me benched. And the work, the quality of the work just always spoke for itself. But you know what that does? It humbles me. It makes me even more mindful of survivorship bias. I'm sure Dr. Maimuna will talk about that a bit more. It makes me remember all the colleagues that I've had who couldn't pay dues like I've paid because maybe they had a husband who said, no, you're working too much. I told you about all that time that I spent researching my show. Do you know why I can do that? Because my husband cooks. I don't have to worry about that. So when we say she can do more, that also means She can do more to choose a husband who will put her career first. The way that she puts his career first. Am I speaking to somebody? A husband who will take on the domestic work equally with her, because he knows that that extra time is the number one factor needed to succeed. A husband who will not complain when she has to work late nights, when she has to go out and network, when she has to hang out a bit more at the office, just so that you can meet some of those people that you typically wouldn't meet during work hours. The same way that he does. She can do more when she becomes an executive to break down the double standards that she has had to overcome on her way up. If I ever run an urban entertainment radio station, there won't be a shorter lifespan for women OAPs. There will be zero tolerance for sexual harassment, so that the women who work for me will feel less afraid about networking at work. She can do more to raise a daughter who is comfortable as a breadwinner and won't feel that she needs to dim her light or play second fiddle. And she can do more to raise a son that is not threatened by the success of his wife and can become a husband who is also her cheerleader, just like she is his cheerleader. So that next time we gather here and we say we can do more, and perhaps Sandra is giving a speech about we can do more. I'm not saying she can do more to raise. I'll be saying they can do more to raise a son, raise a daughter. Because at the end of the day, that's the society we want. Thank you.